So reports out of camp are it's a little rough today for the offenses.
Seems like it's been rough.
But I did see a nice video of Shedeur throwing to Jack Stoll, the Stoll one, as we call him. So we got that going for us.
I saw Dylan Gabriel had a couple completions.
Look at that. Good for him.
That's what I've seen there.
It's good for him.
He's a tiny little guy.
I think he's going to enjoy the UFL in 6 months.
The dominating thought here seems to be, though, that the defense is looking much better than the offense.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
The Cleveland Browns quarterback battle is quickly becoming one of the most fascinating stories of training camp, and at the center of it all is Shedeur Sanders. Every practice report, every highlight clip, and every insider comment seems to fuel another debate about where he stands and whether he's truly ready to become the future of this franchise. Now, if you've been following Browns camp, you've probably heard the reports. The offense has looked a little rough at times. There have been moments where the defense appears to be ahead of the offense, which honestly isn't unusual during the early stages of training camp. New players are learning new systems, coaches are experimenting with lineups, and timing is still developing.
It's interesting. We can debate how much to react to anything specifically. I'm not really going to react to the offense struggling because there are so many new pieces. If they were dominating in day 1 of camp or day 2 of camp, I'd probably think to myself, it's not a good sign for the defense.
I think it's also interesting because it's so many of it is mixed up, right? And at least yesterday, and this is where maybe we need to cut Deshaun a little bit of slack, the idea that Concepcion and Boston are going to be such a major part of this, and they weren't with the ones there with the twos yesterday.
But despite some of those struggles, one thing continues to stand out. Shedeur Sanders keeps finding his way into the conversation. A few nice throws here, a highlight clip there, positive comments from coaches, encouraging reports from insiders. And suddenly, what started as a crowded quarterback room is turning into a legitimate competition. The big question everyone is asking right now is simple. Has Todd Monken changed Shedeur Sanders? That idea gained traction after comments from national analysts who suggested that Monken's influence has helped Shedeur take a major step forward this offseason. According to some reports, Monken challenged Sanders to become more detail-oriented, more consistent, and more professional in every aspect of his preparation. The theory goes something like this.
And it feels like even some of the offensive line combinations and some of those things, like they haven't put out, at least today it seems like they're trending in that direction, but yesterday they didn't put out what will, at least I think, be the actual starting lineup.
Yeah, I am in team enjoy the content mode of training camp. A week from now, all right, we'll see where we're at, right? But like right now, I'm just enjoying seeing the videos come out. I
like seeing football. And they call me whatever you want because of that, but I do. I like seeing football, and I like it being back. But I think maybe this is where I'm not gonna say we differed because we didn't. But yesterday, when you were driving the optimism bus,
when off-season workouts first began, a lot of the positive buzz coming out of Cleveland centered around Deshaun Watson. There were reports that Watson looked healthy. Reports that he was throwing well. Reports that he appeared to be in line for a major role. Then something changed. As the offseason continued, more and more positive reports started emerging about Shedeur Sanders. His command improved. His confidence grew. His understanding of the offense seemed to accelerate. And suddenly people started wondering whether the rookie was closing the gap much faster than expected. Some believe Todd Monken deserves a huge amount of credit for that development. Others think that narrative oversimplifies what has actually happened. Because here's the thing. There has never really been credible evidence suggesting that Shedeur Sanders doesn't work hard.
And I'm over here like, I think this might be as good as it gets, guys. It comes with the idea that week 13, week 14, just traditionally, past couple years, hasn't been a lot of fun. And like, even if this isn't the most fun you've ever had, because it might not be watching the best quarterbacks you've ever seen, still has a chance to be a lot more fun than what 13 and 14 could potentially be.
Now, about halfway through the 2 o'clock hour, we played Chase Diana. What he has heard and what he's hearing about Shedeur and kind of taking a leap forward in the offseason.
Critics have hinted at questions about his commitment, his focus, or his preparation. Yet when you actually look for concrete examples, they are surprisingly difficult to find. Nobody has come out and directly said he doesn't put in the work. Nobody has attached their name to a report claiming he's lazy. Nobody has provided real evidence showing he isn't committed. Instead, much of the criticism seems to stem from perception. And perception can be dangerous. When people watch Shedeur Sanders speak, they see a calm personality. They see someone who looks relaxed. They see someone who jokes around. They see someone who appears comfortable in the spotlight. For some reason, that relaxed demeanor gets interpreted by certain critics as a lack of urgency. But those are not the same thing.
Mike Florio was on PFT and talked about how Todd Monken has impacted Shedeur.
Did I tell you my theory about what happened in Cleveland this offseason? I think we were done by the time I finally figured out what Todd Monken did. Remember when they first started the offseason program and we were hearing that Deshaun Watson was looking good, and Mary Kay Cabot, who's covered that team for 3+ decades, looks like it's going to be Watson. Why don't we just name him the starter now and get him ready? Because by the end of the offseason program, Shedeur was looking good.
Yes.
My theory is that after it started to trickle out that Watson was looking good, and there was that whole Shedeur Sanders, Mary Kay Cabot ugliness.
A player can be laid back in interviews and still be incredibly intense when it comes to preparation. A player can have confidence without being careless. A player can look relaxed and still be obsessed with improving. In fact, many people around the Browns organization have consistently described Sanders as someone who is extremely competitive. And that's where this debate becomes interesting. Because maybe Todd Monken didn't transform Shedeur Sanders. Maybe he simply helped unlock the best version of the player that was already there. That's a very different conversation. Instead of changing his work ethic, perhaps Monken provided structure. Instead of fixing a problem, perhaps he accelerated development. Instead of creating intensity, perhaps he directed it more effectively. That possibility makes a lot of sense. After all, that's exactly why organizations hire coaches like Todd Monken. They hire them to develop quarterbacks. They hire them to maximize talent.
I think Monken at some point said to Shedeur, man, you can't just show up on game day.
Yeah.
You can't be Brett Favre.
Yeah.
You got to do all the other stuff, and you got to do it well if you want to earn that job. You don't get to play if you don't do all this other stuff. And Deshaun's doing it. So you want to win that starting job, you got to do all this stuff, and you got to be locked in every rep, every drill. I could see him saying that to Shedeur, and maybe Shedeur's responded.
All right. So I do think that there's a decent chance that the Browns used Deshaun and his profile as leverage to motivate Shedeur, if they, or not motivate, but to kind of...
They hire them to identify strengths and help players reach another level. So if Sanders continues improving, Monken absolutely deserves credit. But that doesn't mean the player himself deserves any less. Another important factor often ignored in these discussions is what happened last season. When critics point to Sanders' statistics, they frequently leave out the context. And context matters a lot. This wasn't a quarterback who entered a perfect situation. This wasn't a player receiving consistent first-team reps from day one. This wasn't a rookie who spent an entire year developing alongside the starting offense. Instead, he entered a complicated quarterback room where opportunities were limited and repetitions were difficult to come by. For much of the season, meaningful developmental reps simply weren't available. That matters when evaluating performance.
Keep Shedeur kind of pushing and trying to push him to compete for this job, right? I do everything else that Florio said felt like typical Florio conjecture to me.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to ask you. I was like, did you feel like you've seen Shedeur maybe just kind of go through the motions or be lackadaisical about it, and then all of a sudden Monken has been able to pierce through that, and then now we've seen a different version of Shedeur?
I mean, listen, is there a chance that Todd Monken, having his laser eyes on Shedeur Sanders...
Quarterbacks improve through repetition. They improve through timing. They improve through chemistry with receivers. They improve through experience. When those opportunities are limited, development naturally slows. Yet despite those challenges, Sanders still showed flashes. There were moments where his arm talent stood out. Moments where his decision-making looked promising. Moments where you could see why so many evaluators believed in his potential. And now, with a full off-season available, those flashes appear to be becoming more consistent. That is why this competition feels real. And according to several insiders, it absolutely is. One report suggested that this may be the most legitimate quarterback battle currently taking place across the NFL. That's a significant statement, because it means people inside the building aren't simply handing jobs away. They're evaluating. They're competing. They're making players earn opportunities. And that's important for Sanders. In fact, it might be one of the most important things for his long-term development. No young quarterback wants teammates questioning whether he earned his position. No locker room responds well when jobs are gifted rather than earned. The Browns understand that, which is why competition matters. Even if the organization believes Sanders has tremendous potential, he still needs to prove himself. He needs to win over coaches. He needs to win over teammates. And perhaps most importantly, he needs to win over the locker room. Interestingly, several reports suggest that's already happening. Insiders have mentioned that teammates are drawn to Sanders. They talk about his presence. They talk about his confidence. They talk about the way people respond to him. That doesn't automatically make someone a great quarterback. But leadership absolutely matters. Quarterbacks are different from every other position in sports. They're expected to lead. They're expected to command respect. They're expected to handle pressure. And they're expected to inspire confidence. The fact that teammates seem to be gravitating towards Sanders is not something that should be ignored. It could become a major factor as this competition continues. Meanwhile, the Deshaun Watson side of the conversation remains complicated. For years, people have searched for reasons to believe Watson can return to his previous level of play. Every offseason seems to bring renewed optimism. Every coaching change creates new hope. Every system adjustment sparks another round of expectations. Yet results have consistently failed to match those expectations. That's why many observers believe the larger leap of faith right now involves Watson, not Sanders. Watson is attempting to rediscover a version of himself that hasn't consistently appeared for quite some time. Sanders, on the other hand, is trying to become something new. One path involves reclaiming the past. The other involves building the future. And historically, organizations often find more success investing in future growth than chasing previous versions of greatness. That doesn't mean Sanders is guaranteed to win the job. Far from it. Training camp is still early. Practices remain limited. Preseason games haven't even fully shaped the competition yet. There is a long way to go. But what makes this story compelling is that the momentum appears genuine. People are noticing improvement. People are noticing confidence. People are noticing development. And perhaps most importantly, people are noticing leadership. All of those factors contribute to quarterback competitions. Statistics matter. Arm strength matters. Decision-making matters. But leadership, preparation, and consistency matter too. Those qualities often determine who ultimately earns trust inside an organization. As training camp continues, every throw will be analyzed. Every mistake will be magnified. Every highlight will be shared across social media. That's simply the reality of being Shedeur Sanders. The expectations are massive. The spotlight is intense. And the opinions are endless. Yet through all of it, Sanders appears to be doing exactly what he needs to do. Competing, improving, learning, and earning respect. Whether Todd Monken deserves credit, whether the Browns are using competition as motivation, or whether Sanders was always destined to emerge, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. This quarterback battle is far from over. In fact, it may just be getting started. And if Shedeur Sanders continues progressing the way many reports suggest, the conversation around Cleveland's future could look very different by the time the regular season arrives. For now, the smartest approach is patience. Enjoy the competition. Watch the development. Follow the progress. Because training camp stories often change quickly. But sometimes, every once in a while, a young quarterback starts showing signs that something special is developing. And right now, many people around the Browns believe Shedeur Sanders might be doing exactly that.